It was late afternoon when a young teacher from the nearby high school, Mr. Harris, shuffled into Miss Sophia's bookshop. He had passed by the shop many times but had never ventured inside. Today, though, something drew him in. Perhaps it was the warmth radiating from the windows or the golden light that filtered through the shop's old glass panes. He needed a reprieve, and the bookshop felt like a quiet sanctuary. Miss Sophia, who was tidying a small display of books near the door, looked up and smiled warmly. "Ah, welcome," she said, in her usual soothing tone. "Please, come in." Mr. Harris gave her a weak smile in return. His shoulders were hunched, his tie slightly loosened, and the weariness in his eyes betrayed the long day he'd had. He nodded but didn't say much as he walked slowly, taking in the cozy atmosphere of the shop. Wooden shelves lined with books, an old cash register on a counter, and the scent of tea and coffee lingering in the air. It felt like stepping into another world. Miss Sophia, with her gentle wisdom, sensed his troubled mood at once. She gestured to a comfortable chair by the window and said, "Why don't you sit down? I'll bring you a nice cup of tea." Grateful, Mr. Harris took the seat. He let out a deep sigh, feeling some of the tension melt away as he sank into the soft cushions. He hadn't realized how much he needed this quiet space. Before long, Miss Sophia returned with a cup of tea, setting it before him with a kind smile. "How's your day been, dear?" she asked. Mr. Harris hesitated, but there was something about the atmosphere. Maybe it was the kindness in Miss Sophia's eyes or the warmth of the tea in his hands that made him open up. "It's been hard," he admitted, his voice low. "I teach mathematics at the high school down the road, but the students, they just don't want to be there. It feels like I'm pushing against a wall every day, trying to teach them something they don't care about." Miss Sophia nodded, her expression one of deep understanding. "Oh, my dear, that does sound difficult. But tell me, have you ever considered what it might be like for the students?" Mr. Harris looked puzzled. "For the students?" Miss Sophia smiled softly. "Yes, for the students. Young people, full of energy, being asked to sit still in lesson after lesson, day after day. Just like you, they must feel it's all a bit much sometimes." He paused, reflecting. He had never really thought of it like that. He'd been so focused on his own frustrations and how he could best teach mathematics, he hadn't considered how the students might be feeling. Miss Sophia continued, her voice calm and wise. "What if you made your goal not just to teach them mathematics, but to enjoy the time you spend with them? And in doing so, what if you made it your goal to help them enjoy the lesson too?" Mr. Harris blinked. To enjoy it? He hadn't considered that. His mind had been so occupied with delivering the curriculum, hitting the targets and maintaining discipline, that the idea of enjoyment had hardly crossed his mind. Miss Sophia nodded. "Yes. You see, teaching doesn't have to be a battle, dear. When you enjoy what you're doing, your students will feel that. Joy is contagious, you know. And we all want to feel good, your students, yourself, everyone. We all share that, and we all have the power to create it." He sat back, sipping his tea thoughtfully. The warmth of the drink spread through him, and he began to see things in a new light. "You're saying if I focus on enjoying the lessons, the students might feel that too?" "Exactly, my dear," Miss Sophia said with a twinkle in her eye. "You're not just teaching them mathematics, you're sharing an experience with them. And when you make your happiness a priority, it flows naturally into their experience as well. You have the power to make the classroom a more joyful place, for you and for them." Mr. Harris felt a weight lifting from his shoulders. He had been trying so hard to control everything, to push through resistance, but now he saw a different path. "I never thought of it that way," he said quietly. "I've been so focused on making them learn that I forgot we all want the same thing, to feel good, to enjoy life." Miss Sophia smiled warmly. "Yes, dear. Life is meant to be enjoyed, not just endured. When you bring joy into what you do, it changes everything, your teaching and your students and even your own life." He nodded, feeling a new sense of clarity wash over him. "I can do that," he said, more to himself than to her. I can make my lessons more enjoyable, for me and for them. Miss Sophia took a seat next to him, her eyes filled with warmth. And don't forget to take that lesson into your own life too, dear. Joy isn't just for your students, it's for you as well. Make joy your goal, not just in the classroom, but in everything you do. Mr. Harris finished his tea, feeling lighter than he had in weeks. As he stood up to leave, he smiled at Miss Sophia. "Thank you," he said, his voice filled with gratitude. "I think you've just changed my perspective on everything." Miss Sophia waved him off with a soft smile. "You had the wisdom within you all along, dear. You just needed a little reminder." As Mr. Harris stepped out of the bookshop, the air felt fresher, the sky a little brighter. He set off on his walk home, a new determination in his heart. He was ready to bring joy back into his teaching and into his life. Miss Sophia watched him go, her heart full of warmth. Oh, how lovely it is when someone like that dear teacher discovers that life doesn't have to be so difficult, and that joy is there, ready to be embraced by us all. What a change it will bring to his students and to himself.